Hello, my algebra students. Mr. Knight. This is 2.6. We are looking at writing ratios and proportions. So let's go ahead and get started. We've got a few vocabulary words here. So actually, what is a ratio? A ratio uses division. It's a comparison between two quantities. You can write the two quantities in three different ways. Okay, you can use the word to, A to B. That's a ratio. You're comparing two quantities there. You can write it as A colon B, and you can write it as a fraction, all right, which is typically how you see it, A over B. Each ratios read the ratio of A to B, so this is the ratio of A to B, this is the ratio of A to B, this is the ratio of A to B. Okay, so anytime you're reading a problem and they tell you the ratio of A to B, it's going to tell you what comes first, whether A is your, if the very first number, very first value they give you, that's going to be your numerator. It's going to say the ratio of A to B, or it may say the ratio of A to B, so you know that A comes first, then it's colon, then it's B. Or if you're using the word to, then it's A to B, okay? And then a proportion is just an equation that states that two ratios are equivalent. So, as an example, I'll look at a fraction, 1/2 and 2/4, all right? That's a comparison between two quantities, all right? So that right there is the proportion. These right here are equivalent ratios. These right here are also what we call equivalent fractions. And if you notice, all you did was multiply both of them by the same value, or divide both of them by the same value. So that would be equivalent ratios. Another example would be 8/21 would be 16 over 42. Those are equivalent. All I did was multiply both of them by 2. Okay. So anyway, let's move on. I think sometime today. Okay, so we're writing a ratio. So here's our problem right here. A shoe store sells 15 pairs of women's shoes and 12 pairs of men's shoes. Find the specified ratio, okay? Find the ratio of women's sales to men's sales. All right, so they tell you right here the ratio of women's shoe sales to men's shoes. So this is my A, this is my B. So it's either A colon B or it's A over B, all right? So because there's my first value that I'm looking for, there's my second value, okay? Or A to B, okay? So if I look at the solution, I have women's shoe. I told you that was the A, and that's 15. And then you have the men's shoe size, which is 12. And then you simplify that if you can simplify it. You reduce it if you can reduce it. So the ratio is 5 to 4. What that is telling you is that for every 5 women's shoes, you have 4 men's shoes. Okay, so that's what it's telling you. If I look at this second ratio, B, right here, it says find the ratio of men's shoe sales to total. Okay, so that's typical. You will see this word total a lot. Well, you had 15 women's and you had 12 men's, so what is that total? That total is 27, right? So if I look at the ratio, let me kind of erase this right here. Go back to, all right, so if I look at the solution here, I have men's shoes, which is 12, right? I got the 12. And then I have the total, which is 15 plus 12, that's 27. So my ratio is 12 over 27. You can divide both of those by 3, that gives me 4/9. So every 4 men's shoes, there's a total of 9 shoe sales, okay? So that's kind of how you read that. So now let's look at example 2, solving a proportion. So remember, a proportion is two ratios that are equivalent. So here's my proportion right here, 7/9 is equal to x over 54. There are a couple ways you can actually solve this. In the example that they actually give, they're going to solve it like the equations you were solving. You multiply both sides by 54, and then you would actually divide by 9 and then actually get an answer, which would be 42. All right, so you can solve it just like we did the one and two step equations that we just previously went through. That works. Another way is to look at this is look at the whether the numerators or the denominators both have a value, and look to see, is there a value that I can multiply by 9 to get 54, or is there a number I can divide 54 by to get 9? All All right, I think it's easier to go multiplication, but it'll still work either way. So if I say yes, I can multiply 9 by 6, that would give me 54, right? And then, which means I have to multiply 7 by that same value in order to get its numerator, its corresponding numerator. So 7 times 6 is 42. So I know that x is equal to 42, which is the exact same answer that I had down below. Okay, so that's one way to solve. Another way to solve that you'll see is actually cross product. So you have 7 times 9 is equal to x over 54. You can actually say 54 times 7 is equal to 9 times the x. 54 times 7 would be 378, and then 9 times x would be 9x. Then you divide both sides by 9, and then x is equal to 42. So it's the exact same answer. So there's three quick, simple ways that you can solve a proportion. So let's move on. Let's see, what do we have next? Oh, wait a minute. I don't think. Yeah, I think that was it. You didn't have any. Nope, you didn't have any on that. So let's look at the next page here. Exercises for examples 1 and 2. All right, so this is you. The family has 75 VCR movies, 120 DVD movies. Find the specified ratio. Specified ratio. So the number of VCR movies, well, we know that's 75, to the number of DVD movies, which is 120. So if I wrote it in fraction form, it would be 75 over 120, and then you can reduce from there, okay? If I wrote it in colon format, it would be 75 over 120, and you could still reduce from that. You can reduce your fractions, that you know how to do, so you could divide both of those by 15 and get 5 over 8. Well, in colon format, it works the exact same way. You would still divide both sides by 15. 75 divided by 15 would give me 5, and then 120 divided by 15 would give me 8. So again, you can still reduce it in both formats, whether fraction or colon. So now let's look at number 2. So we got number 1. Let's look at number 2, the number of DVD movies to the entire collection. Well, the entire collection is going to be what, 195? All right, so 75 120 is 195. So DVD movies, which would be 120, and then the entire collection would be 195. So we'll just leave it in fraction format, 120 over 195. I know I can divide both of those by 5 and continue to go, but that would actually reduce to 8/13. Okay, so that's number 2. So let's look number 3. It says solve the proportion. Check your solution. I know that I can multiply both of these by 9, because 8 times 9 gives me 72. Therefore, x has got to equal to 27. 27 over 72. Divide both by 9, you get 3/8. That works. All right, so let's look at number 4. Actually, these are yours, but that's okay. I'm working them out. My apologies. I know that I can multiply both by 5, 18 by 5, 45, 90, so multiply that by 5. Therefore, I know that y is equal to 45, okay? 45 over 90, that's half. 9/18, that's half, so that works out. And then if I look at number 5 down here, I think that's a z. I think it is a z. So number 5, we can find that z is equal to 12, right? So if I put 12 over 96, or 12 over 16, 12, 16, yeah, so z is equal to 12 in that problem number 5. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so now solving a multi-step problem. So the problem that we are looking at is a restaurant owner uses 3 cloves of garlic for every 5 pints of sauce. So there's a relationship right there, 3 cloves to 5 pints. The restaurant uses 210 pints of sauce during the day. Find the number of cloves. Okay, so you're actually going to write a proportion here. So whenever you're solving a proportion, this is pretty much what it looks like, and you know that you got 4 numbers here. One of those numbers is going to be a variable, so you have 3 numbers that you'll pull out of the problem to set this proportion up. So basically they'll give you one relationship between 2 numbers, and then it'll be this other relationship that you're looking for one of those values. So if I look at this, I have 3 cloves of garlic and 5 pints. So it's 3 cloves of garlic. I'm sorry, let me start up here. 3 cloves of garlic to 5 pints. And then they say the total is 210 pints. That's the 210 pints. So they want to know the total number of garlics. So since I know that the relationship, a proportion is 2 equivalent ratios, so we're just, you just set it up 3/5 is equal to x over 210, and then you have multiple ways that you can solve it. You can multiply both sides by 210, and then you'll end up finding out that, okay, so let's look at it right here. There's your original equation. They're multiplying 210 by both sides. So you get 630 divided by 5 is equal to x, and then you're going to divide 630 by 5, and you get 126. So what that's telling you is that there's 126 cloves of garlics, 126 cloves of garlics to every 210 pints of sauce, which is the same thing as 3 cloves of garlic to 5 pints of sauce. Okay, so our solution to that one is actually 126. So let's move on. All right, we got exercise 6 and 7. These are yours. I'm going to let you do them instead of me working them out. So pause the video, work those out, and then start the video back up, and we'll check your answers. Okay, so we're going to look at number 6. All right, so it's 32 words per 60 seconds. Okay. And they want to know how many words in 150 seconds, all right? So how many words in 150 seconds? Now, the nice thing about proportions, one thing is that you can match up the units, all right? So in this particular case, my units are words and seconds. So match up the seconds, either both in the denominator or both in the numerator, and match up the words, either both of those in the numerator, both in the denominator, okay? I set it up like this. It really doesn't matter. You'll still come out with the same answer as long as you match up your units, as long as the units match with the numerator and with the denominator, okay? And then from this, you can multiply both sides by 150, okay? Multiply both sides by 150. So I find out that x is equal to 80 words, okay? So my x right there would be 80 words, okay? 80 words. Now, you may want to stop the video if you need a copy of this, because I'm getting ready to erase. So sorry. But you can pause it and rewind it. All right, so let's look at number 7. A secretary can type 48 words in 60 seconds. Okay. How many words can the secretary type in 400 seconds? Equals 400 seconds. And again, I'm matching up units, so it tells me where the 400 goes. That's going to be my x. And so multiply both sides by 400. All right, so that gives me x is equal to 320 words. Okay, and that's that right there. So now let's see what's next. That is the end. So that ends that video, which is 2.6 ratios and proportions. So 2.7 is solving proportions using the cross product, and this is what I was showing you before, but we'll get into that next video. So anyway, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next video.